say came back with a red shirt on, tiptoed through the alley, and went right and started shooting. So to me, that's premeditated. Number one, there's no red shirts in the hood.
Homie, they killed Nip too. Let's not forget, homie, they killed Nipsey Hussle. Eric Holder was not a lone actor in that.
People from all over the city getting off the bus to transfer buses right there. It needs to be a robbery intersection. It ain't none of that no more. And it ain't because we telling niggas what to do,
right?
But it's because everybody feels a part of the upward mobility of that corner. And they like, nah, we ain't, don't they coming to support. You better not rob nobody right here, bro. They about to spend more than you gonna take. You know what I mean? And they gonna go into their city wearing the Crenshaw or the Marathon shit and represent our community. So it mean a lot, man.
Have you ever wondered how a rising star can become entangled in a web of street alliances, cartel vengeance, and brutal internal conflicts, all before he even reaches his full potential? This is the story of Nipsey Hussle, a man who not only transformed his neighborhood through business and community investment, but also found himself at the crossroads of dangerous underworld dealings. It is a story that begins with the secret alliance between local street gangs and powerful cartels, moves through a nearly fatal ambush on a tour bus in Chicago, and ultimately shows how internal betrayal sealed his fate.
My career started right here. This community put me on. Yes, sir.
Nipsey started in this parking lot on the corner of Slauson and Crenshaw. He used to sell his unsigned mixtapes out of the trunk of his car.
Los Angeles is known for its notorious street gangs. For decades, the city's neighborhoods have been divided by rivalries between the Crips, Bloods, and various other sets. But behind this well-known rivalry lies a less publicized connection, an alliance between these local gangs and international drug cartels. The cartels are primarily concerned with moving product and maintaining profit margins, and they often find it convenient to partner with street gangs. Gangs like the Rolling 60s, with their established territory and muscle, provide the perfect distribution network. In exchange, the cartels supply drugs, money, and even protection. In this system, loyalty is secondary to profit. Even if a gang member is not directly involved in criminal activities, merely being affiliated with a particular set can be enough to draw the attention and the wrath of the cartel.
It's one of the biggest gangs, one of the biggest Crip gangs. Our generation, you know what I'm saying, was kind of responsible for like putting it on the map in terms of like hustling and business. And
within this dangerous environment, Nipsey Hussle emerged. Though he proudly identified with the Rolling 60s, his goals were different. Nipsey aimed to uplift his community, reinvesting his earnings into local businesses and initiatives, and offering hope to young people who might otherwise fall into the cycle of gang violence. Yet, his affiliation also meant that he was unwittingly linked to every decision, every misstep, and every mistake made by his set, even those made by others who had little to do with his own vision. One incident that set off a chain reaction involved the theft of what insiders refer to as 300 keys, a large quantity of contraband that belonged to the cartel. Although the details of this robbery have never been fully confirmed by law enforcement, many on the streets talked about how some members of the Rolling 60s had stolen these keys. In the criminal underworld, losing something valuable like this is not taken lightly. The cartels run on reputation and fear, and a theft of this magnitude is seen not only as a loss of money or product, but as a challenge to their authority. In cartel logic, even an indirect association with the theft makes every affiliated member a target. Nipsey, although not involved in the robbery himself, was part of the Rolling 60s. Because of this, he became a collateral target. To the cartel, it was not a matter of proving guilt. It was about sending a message. If one group of the Rolling 60s dared to defy them, then the entire set had to pay. This is where the story takes a dangerous turn, a turn that nearly cost Nipsey his life.
when you don't have resources, you in survival mode. You know, so being in survival mode automatically rules out a lot of things.
It happened during a tour stop in Chicago. Nipsey was scheduled to perform on the south side of the city, a venue that promised both an enthusiastic crowd and the chance to build his following. The concert, by all outward appearances, was a success. Fans in brightly colored Crenshaw t-shirts filled the venue, many of them wearing the very merchandise Nipsey had designed. But hidden among the crowd were cartel enforcers. They blended in with the audience, their clothing a mix of casual streetwear, and the familiar colors of Nipsey's brand, which allowed them to get close without raising suspicion. After the show ended, as the audience dispersed and the staff began to wrap up, Nipsey and his team made their way to the tour bus parked just outside the venue. There was no hint that danger lurked nearby. However, moments later, a group of about 6 individuals, separated from a larger contingent that was said to number over 100, made a sudden, coordinated move toward the bus. These men were not there to celebrate or offer support. They were there with one purpose: to force their way onto the vehicle and send a violent message. The scene turned chaotic almost instantly. The tour bus, which had moments earlier been a safe haven, became a battleground. The bus driver froze in confusion, caught between the instinct to drive away and the terror of what might happen if he moved too slowly. The security detail, confident just minutes before, was overwhelmed. One of the guards was dragged from his post and brutally beaten by the attackers. In the ensuing confusion, a trusted member of Nipsey's team quickly ushered him into a secure back room, locking the door behind him. Outside, angry shouts, the sound of fists meeting flesh, and the crack of gunfire echoed through the night. The attackers moved with precision. Although they were relatively small in stature compared to Nipsey's security team, their determination was unmatched. They scaled the side of the bus, attempting to force entry by prying open windows and smashing doors. Their objective was clear: capture Nipsey, or at the very least, make an example out of him. The situation was dire. Every second counted as the team inside fought to keep the bus moving. In the end, a mix of rapid decisions and sheer luck allowed the bus to pull away, leaving behind a scene of destruction and uncertainty. This near ambush is a stark reminder of how quickly things can escalate in an environment where rules are enforced by fear and violence. Cartels do not rely on formal legal systems. They operate on street justice, where reputation is maintained by a swift and brutal response to any perceived betrayal. For Nipsey, surviving that night was nothing short of a miracle. It was a moment that underscored the constant danger inherent in his world. A world where even if you try to steer toward positive change, the criminal networks will not let you forget where your loyalties lie.
Yeah, I thought you was a cool guy.
You thought wrong, bro. You don't put no camera in no grown man face without asking.
But you're a celebrity.
Man, I'm a 60 crip, bro. First.
In the days that followed, the incident on the tour bus became the subject of hushed conversations. Members of the Rolling 60s and other affiliated groups spoke of the ambush in grim, matter-of-fact tones. They recounted how the cartel's message was unmistakable. Even if you are not directly involved, association is enough to incur their wrath. This was a lesson that resonated deeply with everyone in the neighborhood. Nipsey's near-death experience was a clear signal that the stakes were higher than ever, and that any misstep, no matter how unintentional, could have fatal consequences. For Nipsey himself, this brush with death did not deter him from his mission. Instead, it reinforced his determination to change the system from within. He knew that remaining silent or distancing himself entirely from his roots would only empower the very forces he was trying to fight. Nipsey continued to invest in his community, opening businesses, creating job opportunities, and mentoring young people. His philosophy was simple. By building a better future for his neighborhood, he could reduce the allure of street life and break the cycle of violence that had claimed so many lives before him.
Meant to the community, if you want to look around right now, every single person that's out here spending their time here, they're here because he spoke to them in some way, he inspired them in some way.
Yet, even as he pushed forward with his community projects, the memory of that night in Chicago lingered. The ambush was a constant reminder that the world he was trying to change was not easily swayed by hope or goodwill. It was a world ruled by a code of silence and retribution, where every action had consequences far beyond what anyone could predict. In the background, the cartels were still at work, quietly shifting their networks, planning their next moves, and ensuring that loyalty was never taken for granted. The situation grew even more complex when another figure emerged from within Nipsey's own set, Eric Holder. Holder was a fellow Rolling 60s affiliate who had long been part of the same network. However, tensions between him and Nipsey had been simmering beneath the surface for some time. Some said it was a personal grudge, others believed it was a difference in vision for the future of their community. Regardless of the reasons, the conflict reached a deadly climax on March 31st, 2019. On that day, Nipsey was in front of the Marathon clothing store, a physical symbol of his commitment to his neighborhood and his dream of a better future. The store was more than just a retail outlet. It represented the possibility of transformation through hard work and perseverance. As customers and community members gathered outside, Eric Holder appeared on the scene. What happened next unfolded in a matter of moments that would forever change the course of history.
3:25 this afternoon, LAPD officers responded to a shooting call at a local clothing retail store here at the 3400 block of West.
Without warning, Holder pulled a firearm and fired multiple rounds at Nipsey. The shots rang out in broad daylight, leaving no time for defense or escape. Nipsey, who had survived a near-fatal ambush just months before, was struck down in an instant. The impact of this act reverberated throughout the community. In one instant, the man who had become a symbol of hope and progress was gone, taken not by an external enemy, but by someone from within his own circle.
In the first degree of Mr. Askadon, the sentence will be the term prescribed by law, which is 25 years to life.
The aftermath was immediate and profound. Shock and grief spread through the neighborhood, uniting rival gangs and community leaders in mourning. In a rare moment of unity, longtime adversaries came together to honor a man who had always preached that change was possible, even in the face of overwhelming adversity. Vigils were held, tributes were posted on social media, and the words "The Marathon Continues" became a rallying cry for those determined to carry on. His tragedy was not just the loss of a talented artist and entrepreneur, but the symbolic erasure of a beacon for change. Nipsey's approach had always been straightforward. Invest in your community, stay true to your roots, and never let the violence of the streets define you. Instead, he believed that by creating opportunities for growth and education, you could gradually erode the appeal of a life defined by crime and retribution. His death, however, left a void that was felt deeply across Los Angeles and beyond. In the days and weeks that followed, attention quickly shifted to Eric Holder and the consequences of his actions. Holder was arrested, tried, and eventually sentenced to 60 years in prison, a punishment that many saw as a necessary though insufficient response to the loss of someone so beloved. But even behind bars, Holder could not escape the reality of street justice. Reports soon emerged that he had been attacked by fellow inmates. Violent incidents in his cell underscored that in the underground world, retribution is as relentless as it is unforgiving.
Rapper Nipsey Hussle's alleged killer was attacked on his way to court. Eric Holder's attorney tells TMZ that he was attacked by two people while in a holding cell. Holder needed 3 staples after being cut with what's believed to be a razor.
Holder's fate became a cautionary tale in itself, a reminder that the street code, built on loyalty and a strict sense of honor, leaves no room for betrayal. For those who had once admired Nipsey's vision of community unity, his murder was an intolerable irony. The very system that he had fought so hard to change was now taking its revenge on one of its own, leaving a community with more questions than answers about how to break the cycle of violence. Yet, even in the wake of such tragedy, Nipsey's message persisted. His life, marked by both near-death experiences and moments of undeniable triumph, became a symbol of resilience. Community leaders and young entrepreneurs continued to invest in the neighborhood, inspired by his belief that lasting change comes from within. Programs were established, educational initiatives expanded, and local businesses began to see a glimmer of hope in a place long defined by despair. The struggle against entrenched criminal networks and internal strife remains an uphill battle. The alliances between local gangs and international cartels still operate, albeit in ever more covert and decentralized ways. Law enforcement continues to dismantle parts of these networks through multi-agency operations and targeted busts, yet for every significant arrest, new cells and groups seem to emerge. The cat-and-mouse game between authorities and organized crime is a constant reminder that the fight for safer communities is far from over. As technology advances and criminal methods evolve, through encrypted messaging, cryptocurrency, and other innovations, the challenges facing communities like South Central Los Angeles become even more complex. However, amid these obstacles, the legacy of Nipsey Hussle endures. His message was never just about music or street credibility. It was about building a future where every young person had the chance to succeed outside the confines of gang violence. His work with local youth, his investment in neighborhood projects, and his efforts to create economic opportunities all point toward a vision that transcends the violence of the past. In a way, Nipsey's life was defined by the constant collision of hope and harsh reality. He navigated a world where every decision carried the potential for both profound success and catastrophic failure. His near ambush in Chicago was a stark illustration of the hidden dangers that lurk behind the facade of a successful tour, a reminder that the line between progress and peril is all too thin in environments dominated by fear and retribution. Even as the community grieved the loss of a visionary leader, debates continued about the best path forward. Some argued that the only way to break the cycle was to abandon all ties with the old ways, to completely sever the connection with the past. Others believed that the solution lay in transforming the very structures that had long oppressed the community, by investing in education, creating jobs, and fostering a sense of pride that could replace the allure of violence. Nipsey's own efforts seemed to embody the latter approach. He did not reject his roots, but rather used them as the foundation for a better future. Today, when people look back on Nipsey Hussle's legacy, they see a man who managed to almost die twice. Once in a near-fatal ambush by cartel-linked enforcers, and then in the ultimate betrayal by someone from his own set. Yet, despite these tragedies, his influence continues to shape not only the music industry, but also the broader conversation about urban renewal and social justice. His life is a testament to the power of resilience, the importance of community, and the possibility of change, even in the face of overwhelming odds. As the city of Los Angeles slowly rebuilds and finds new ways to honor his memory, the question remains, how can communities break free from the cycles of violence and retribution that have defined them for so long? The answer, as many believe, lies in the very lessons Nipsey tried to teach. Invest in your neighborhood, provide opportunities for the youth, and work together to transform a system that has too often punished those who dare to dream of a better tomorrow. Nipsey's story is not merely one of loss and tragedy, it is also a call to action. It challenges us to look beyond headlines and to understand that every act of violence has a deeper context, a context that involves historical neglect, systemic inequality, and a desperate need for hope. In remembering Nipsey Hussle, we are reminded that change is possible if we are willing to invest in the future and stand together against forces that seek to divide us. In the end, Nipsey's life and the near-fatal events that marked his journey offer a powerful reminder that while the road may be long and fraught with peril, the marathon continues. His legacy lives on in the businesses he built, the young people he inspired, and the community that still fights for a better future. Even in the midst of a world where betrayal and violence seem all too common, his vision for unity, empowerment, and progress remains a beacon of hope.